as I said, I thought this was mostly Coreopsis. And in the beginning, it looked very much the same as the moss phlox that's in the middle of it. But now the Coreopsis is getting pretty tall. That's so fun that they're together like that. I wanted a Coreopsis grandiflora so I can compare it to the ones that are very fern-like. This is a short grandiflora, so it's a sunrise Coreopsis grandiflora. And the key is to look at the leaves. So different than my other Coreopsis. These Coreopsis are just getting started. I'm excited. They are coming out of moss phlox. I found out they're really good companion plants by accident. You can see it from this side. Down there's moss phlox, which blooms very early in the year, and it actually goes all the way out into this area. And then the Coreopsis grows through it, and they both have a mossy look to them. And I'll show you another area. So this Coreopsis, which is just getting going, you see the many buds. Literally right in the middle of it is some moss phlox. It's hidden underneath, and it's grown right through it. And it bloomed in the early year, and now this is taken over. So it's a really great companion plant if you have smaller space and you want something that blooms earlier and something that blooms later. I have another patch here, and it's really getting going. So let's talk a little bit about Coreopsis. It's also known as Tickseed. Oh, I have another one to show you over there. I just remembered. That made me remember that. Or Calliopsis, which I've never heard it called Calliopsis. Most of the time, I hear people call it by its scientific name, Coreopsis. The family is the Asteraceae family, which is the daisy and the sunflower family, which I can kind of see how they look like miniature sunflowers. There are about 80 species of Coreopsis, so I'm not even going to begin to go through them. I learned from an experience that the height varies greatly between species, so be sure to read the labels. I like the height of this one. It's bordering on to high, but it's just about right. The name Tickseed is because the seeds resemble ticks, but then again, don't most seeds look like ticks? The name Coreopsis is from the Greek words chorus, which means bug, and opsis, which means like, hence the common name of tickseed, because it's bud-like, bug-like. So I have 3 varieties of Coreopsis in my garden, and I'll review each one of them. This one is a Noid, no ID, which was gifted from a friend, and I believe it's a thread leaf because it looks just like my other thread leaf, which is a Coreopsis verticillata. But I believe this one is a Coreopsis verticillata, which means whorls in leaves. It's a whorled Coreopsis. So if we look at the leaves, you see they're very fine and thin, but they're whorled around the stem. How fun is that? Can you see that? I hope you can see that. We can get another one. they're so fun looking. Look how they're whirled around. And actually there's a level of whirl here and a level of whirl here. The other thing is the whorled leaves have smooth tips, which identifies this variety. So this is a thread leaf, I believe. And we'll go over here. I got some calendula blooming from last year's seed, but this one right here is also a Coreopsis. And you see it has the same whorled leaves, but this variety is called Moonbeam. It's a very soft pale yellow, and it's almost iridescent, like when the whole thing gets going, it almost like glows, which is really beautiful. I remember it caught our eye when we were in the store, and we both said we wanted it. So again, this is Coreopsis verticillata Moonbeam. So I do have the tag for this one, and I do know what it is. And because of the leaves and description, I think the other one is also a Coreopsis verticillata, but it has a brighter yellow flower. The leaves, it says, are palmately, three-parted, with thread-like segments or whorled around the stem. Palmately means they all come from, oh, I see it. So if you look here, palmately, like the palm of your hand, the leaves all come out from the palm. And so you see how they're whorled because they all come out from the palm. It's in the shade, so it's not getting going yet. But they spread by rhizomes and self-seeding, and it can be divided in the early spring. And they tickle my leg. I forgot I had this bunch here. This, actually, if you go look at my video early in the spring, you'll see this entire area is covered. You can see a little bit of it there, as we talked about the pinks, the phlox, but the whole area is that way, and this has now grown up through it. Isn't that amazing? The flowers are so bright and cheery and happy, and they'll go on like this most of the summer, at least until late summer. I really like this particular Coreopsis. Now, I have had here, and I can insert a photo, where I have had the Coreopsis and then the purple poppy mallow, which you see in here, but it's only in its second year. I had a rabbit eat it, so it will actually fill in this entire area, and I'll have the two Coreopsis with the purple poppy mallow. And then I've had the evening primrose blooming, but I'm not sure I'm going to keep the evening primrose. I'm putting it right here under the hydrangea, and then the salvia here. And I have photos of all four of them together. They're gorgeous. I'll insert one here. So this Coreopsis, I just planted it this year because I have been so confused by Coreopsis and just by identifying it. Planted a little bee balm behind it. I like that the bee balm's blooming the same time as the Coreopsis. But here you can see this variety is different. It doesn't look like the phlox. But this is a Coreopsis grandiflora Sunkiss. And it gets a height of 12 to 14 inches, so I love the height. And grandiflora means large flowers. I'm not so sure they're large. But you can see the leaves are long and thin, like the other ones. Here's what the leaves look like. They're not so much whorled on the stem like the other ones. Not sure how they come. These have got the little red bits in the center. This is a classic Coreopsis, I think. It looks like all the varieties I have lance leaf type shape of leaves, but I believe there are some varieties that have rounded leaves. And of course this one's called thread leaf. Coreopsis are sun-loving flowers, and it says they make great cut flowers. I've never done that. I'm not sure how these would be good cut flowers. Maybe the taller varieties, but I might just try cutting some and to see what they do in a vase. Don't you just love how wispy they look? Most often the flowers are yellow, but sometimes they're bicolor of red and yellow, which we saw. And the petals are singular and daisy-like. And most varieties are tooth-tipped. This one's not tooth-tipped. If they're talking about the petal. I don't see any teeth on this variety. I wonder if that other one has it. Now I do deadhead mine after they get done blooming, and so I just take a pair of scissors and I will just grab a bunch of them and cut underneath them to cut off the tops where the flowers are done, and then it will bloom again later in the season. Don't you like the little mound of them? I'm going to put on my website a list of a few other kinds that I have researched. There's, of course, the lance leaf stands out, and mouse ears, the grandiflora, which I have. These are shorter ones, but one of them's called lance leaf. These flies are bugging me. They seem to love the Coreopsis. So the lance leaf is lanceolata, and the thread leaf is the verticulata, which is this. So I do note that two of the varieties are based off of what kind of flowers that they have. There's one called Coreopsis rosea, which has pink flowers, and I think I bought that this year, but I have no idea where I planted it. And it's not blooming yet.